Hello and welcome to an episode of the Coffee and Podcast. I'm your host, Philip Klayman. I'm one of the co-founders of Three Tree Coffee. And on this podcast, we're all about coffee education and cultivating freedom for victims of human trafficking. Today's episode is a little more focused on the coffee education piece. It's called a 3x3x3. And that's where we have three people tasting three coffees in 3 minutes. I'm really excited today that on the show we have Matt, who is with Origin Coffee Bar. Matt and Elise started Origin a few years back. I think we're going to learn a lot about their story. Matt also is the founder of Doxology Creative, and I think we'll be hearing more about that as well. So without further ado, let's meet our guest. Matt, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me today. This is so exciting. I love this. Thank you so much. And I'm excited to be on the show today.
I'm pumped as well. So tell us a little bit about yourself and just the genesis of Origin. How did that start?
Yeah, absolutely. So for the longest time, I've been a coffee consumer, right? Grew up, I remember like 8 years old, I was serving up drip coffee at my church, like fellowship hall in the basement, right? So that's where it all started for me. And then all throughout, like growing up, college, all that. My wife and I, we worked in ministry. We had corporate jobs, and at one point, we were chasing these dream jobs out in California. And my wife turned around and said, "You know what? Let's ditch the dream job and let's start a coffee cart." And I said, "You're absolutely nuts. We're not doing that." Well, 3 hours later on a drive from Northern California to San Francisco, she convinced me. And so
only needed 3 hours in the
only
car.
3 hours, right? So at the time we were living outside of DC. We sold everything we had. We started a mobile coffee bar, moved down to Savannah. And since then, it's been an incredible journey of developing community and going from a coffee bar to 6 months later, a pop-up for best part of a year and a half. Mm-hmm. And then we gained enough traction in town and had enough support that we were able to open up our flagship location. That's just been such a joy. We have a full kitchen. We started roasting, and it's just been such a dream. And so that all started in 2020. And now we're in 2024. And just so many bright things ahead. Yeah. I'm so excited.
That's amazing. Well, and anyone who's in the Savannah, Pooler, Statesboro area, if you've not checked out Origin Coffee Bar, you got to go check it out. The space is really incredible. It's beautiful. The drinks are incredible. So definitely go check them out. You said you started as a mobile coffee bar and then kind of went into the coffee shop. Was that always the plan? Or was it kind of like, let's just do this mobile thing and see what happens?
Yeah, not at all. No, not at all. So when we started with the mobile coffee bar, we decided we weren't going to do a permanent location or anything. We had the idea, we can just set up a mobile coffee bar anywhere in Savannah, right? No, there are a lot more legalities than we really thought through. As my brother said, we thought it was more of a like hot dog cart serving coffee, right? And it just was kind of an organic growth that happened. People rallied around us and they wanted more and gave us opportunities and more doors open. And we just walked through the right ones. Mm-hmm. And we're just really grateful for that support. But no, it was never in the plans. Yeah. And continuing to grow and even to start roasting. Mm-hmm. That was never in the plans. And it was just one step after another and just following the right voices, I guess.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, and so then before all of this, clearly you're in design. You run Doxology Creative. Mm-hmm. And we actually had Sean Fox on the podcast not too long ago.
That's right.
If you've not heard that one, go check it out. Episode 26.
Very good.
And we talked a lot about design. Yeah. And something I kind of found interesting about him is he had no background really in design, no education in design, just found himself in it. Is that how it worked for you? Did you study this? Did you just find yourself in design? What was your design journey like?
Yeah. So again, young kid doing a whole bunch of stuff. I started off actually in architecture, and I went to school for architecture and quickly turned into a graphic designer. I started being commissioned freelance basis for logos locally, doing posters. I was in theater, so for shows I was in, for my friends' concerts and my concerts, and I've also done music over the years, and so it kind of organically grew there. Mm-hmm. And so for the past 14 years, I've been doing it, whether on the side as freelance or full time. At one point, I had a team of like 30 people working with Doxology Creative, and it was incredible just working with the entertainment industry with that side of things. But yeah, it was something I ended up studying. So I went to SCAD for, got my undergraduate in graphic design with that. Amazing opportunities. Worked at worked in full-time ministry as a designer. I worked with other agencies. I actually worked with Sean for a while as well. Nice. So partnered with him and the team over at Pioneer, and so many other folks that have been so kind and mentored me through different seasons and teaching me a lot about design over the years. And it's directly influenced Origin as a whole too. We have a big design ethos behind what we do, and not just in the aesthetics, but also in how we serve people and our guest experience and how we cater to those of all walks of life. And I learned a lot of that from design in a background. So it's been a really cool journey.
Very cool. So then why the name Origin?
Well, Origin, it's a funny story. So when we were working in DC, we were doing this whole merch line. It was this idea of the light in a dark place, right? And at this time we were diving deep. It was myself and my team were developing this whole merch line. It was all black and white and very Swiss design style, if you know what that is.
I know what that is.
Okay, wonderful.
I don't know what that is, but that's okay. You can keep going.
Okay, perfect. So any of the design nerds out there, you know what I'm talking about. And so really dove deep into it, fell in love with this project, and it was scrapped last minute. The client decided to go a different direction, and totally okay. And so my wife and I, we just loved the project and were so excited about it. And so we ended up asking them, hey, do you mind if we take this concept on our own if you're not going to use it? They gave us the green light, and it was called Origin.
Wow.
And so the whole idea with the star is the light in a dark place, and it goes along with our ethos of wanting to be that light in a dark place for so many people. You don't know what they're experiencing before they walk in through your front door. And it's our opportunity to be able to give them that light or that hope throughout their day that they can take with them. We keep telling our team every day that your job is not to make coffee. Your job is not to make a slapping good toast. Like your job is to make someone's day. And so that's the idea of Origin. This is the origin. This is the beginning of just a better story for them as they walk out the door.
Man, I love that. And something I think that's so neat about that story, and I've seen this in my life, I see it in other people's lives as well, is, you know, we have goals that we want to attain, and we have to take steps to reach those goals. But quite frequently, you start taking steps, and what you think it's going to become is something totally different, or you think you're doing something for one reason, but it turns out it's for a totally different reason. 100%. I think that's so amazing that you were literally creating a brand for someone else.
Yes.
And then at the end of it all, they were like, nah. And you were like, well, we'll use it then.
Yeah, I'll take it. That's fine.
I didn't think we were doing that for our own brand. I just think that's really neat to hear. So
thank you. Yeah.
Okay. There was a time after where you were looking to start the coffee shop. You'd already done a coffee cart. You were looking to start the coffee shop. You did a phenomenal crowdfunding campaign. There was a lot. I mean, I was tracking the progress. I was cheering for you from afar.
Thank you.
But it seemed like there was some heartache in the midst of that, some challenges in the midst of that. Do you just mind opening up on some of that? What were some of those challenges, and what was that time like? Crowdfunding to prepare for that first shop.
Absolutely. So we were doing this all in the midst of the COVID era, right? As I feel like so many coffee journeys began through that season of time. And so when we started pricing out the whole shop, it was going to be X number of dollars, right? And so we had saved enough money through the coffee cart, through our own personal savings, through what we had earned with the pop-up location to be able to open it up pretty reasonably. And that number, by the time that we had contractors fall through and we had delays, and there were so many permitting loopholes we had to go through and hurdles.
I'm sure the supply chain issues didn't help with COVID.
It did not. And so by the time we were able to hit go on the project, the price had quadrupled.
Ooh.
It quadrupled. And at that point, we didn't have any extra money. We'd already been spending a lot of time and money on just making sure this happened on our own. Unfortunately, in our lease agreement too, there was this line that we wouldn't pay our rent until we opened. And it was going to be our saving grace to that period of time. Like, okay, well, at least we have this stipulation. Well, our lawyer forgot to put it in. He sent off the wrong final file to be signed. And so we were paying rent for, I think it was 7 to 9 months before we ever opened in downtown Savannah, historic district. That's a lot of money, people. Don't do it. And so we decided to start a crowdfunding campaign when we found that out. We found out the price, and this all happened in 1 week. We found all this out. And so we raised $30,000 in 2 weeks. The community came behind us and supported us so much. We're so grateful. And it was also such a sweet time because it was during that same window where we were just baking bread after loaf after loaf after loaf to try to perfect that for our kitchen. And we ended up with so many loaves left over that we didn't know what to do with it. So we had, I want to say we had about 35 to 40 people show up at this empty vessel of a shop that we were waiting to start building out. And we were just putting together meals for the houseless community in Savannah and then personally handing them out as a whole group. We made 260 lunches that day. And that was a perfect image in our minds of the community support that rallied behind us to see us knowing that we had given up everything to start this. And it's not for our own thing. It's not for our own pursuit really, but making a space for other people. And like the mission I shared with you, just to create brighter days for people. And so it was a really tough season. Especially we were trying to launch Origin in this flagship capacity where we were beginning to roast coffee. We were learning that whole process and then learning everything for the kitchen and the regular cafe operations and still doing mobile events. And I was still working full time with my agency and traveling all over the U.S. for different projects and campaigns and whatnot, and trying to make that all happen at once. And so it was a really difficult time, but through that, we learned so much about ourselves. So much trust with the community was built during that period of time. It was kind of a joke for a while. We had coming soon on our window. Never put that on your window because it will always be coming soon. The moment I knew we were going to open up, I tore that right off the door and felt so good to put up an actual date.
Coming now.
Coming right now. But it was tough, but it was such a great growing season to build that muscle as a whole team. And that season created such great fruit, and we got I want to say some of our best hires and best friends from that season too.
Yep, absolutely. What a great lesson there of just when kind of the saying when life hands you lemons, make lemonade sort of thing. But still, you took what was a very, very difficult situation and you turned it into, well, let's help the houseless in this area, right? Let's practice making bread and let's use this space for good. Let's use our talents for good, even if we can't use it for the things we were expecting.
Absolutely.
And I just think that's sort of integrity. People notice, customers notice, communities notice. That matters, right? And I'd say it matters more and more to cultures and communities that are we investing in one another? Are we genuine in that? Or is it really just something we're faking? And the way you really know that is how much sacrifice does it take? And when you're making bread without anything coming back in return, it's evident.
Thank you.
So, okay, the last question I just want to ask about you is you were a new father.
I am.
So tell us about that journey. How are you and Elise doing? What's it like being a new parents and running this shop? How's it been going?
Wow, it's been dynamic. And I gotta shout out to my wife. Elise, you are incredible. You're a tank, girl. You really are. Within 2 weeks of giving birth to our daughter, Selah, she was already training new kitchen hires. I'm not saying anyone should do that. I'm not saying that I encouraged it. But she is so tenacious and has such a passion for what she does and the people she works with. And she stepped in and did that to that capacity because she wanted to make sure that they had the attention given to them that they deserve. And that not only were they doing their job well, sure, but that they felt seen and known by us from the very beginning. And so thank you to you for that. And I think that's just kind of like how it's been so far. We didn't get too much of a parental leave. And as a business owner, you don't always get that. There are certain things we put in place, and we have an incredible leadership team. Maddie and Rachel, our front of house manager and roaster and barista trainer, did an incredible job at making space for us at that period of time. We created all the steps to prevent people from texting us or messaging on Slack, right? And it's been such an interesting pivot for us, I guess, because when you have a child, so many things start to click in priority, right? And okay, maybe today we don't need to stress about the internet, like, I don't know, fluctuated for a second. That's okay. Like, everyone's fed, everyone's okay, everyone's alive, right? And I think bringing that level of depth into our journey and including our daughter into our day-to-day, she's with us every day at the shop when we're there. Whether we're in the back doing computer work or we're out front making drinks, I mean, there's photo evidence already of her behind the bar and in her stroller, just sleeping away. And just having that depth, it brings I'm going to cry, but it brings so much more importance and gravity to the situation of what we're doing, of like, this is a legacy we get to tell our daughter about, that her mom and dad worked so hard to not only provide for her and our family, but to provide a space for the community and to create something that is not only benefiting the locals of Savannah or the visitors to our city or, you know, the students that may be coming in to do homework, but like the coffee we're sourcing is helping out those communities. The way that we're producing it is helping out the environment. Like, everything that we're doing is for a bigger and better purpose. And so kind of having the gravity of her being there and becoming a new parent in this season of still bootstrapping a lot of things in the business is just such an honor to do that. And it's so satisfying at the end of the day. We may be tired and our feet are hurting and whatever else, and our minds are racing in the middle of the night, but it's worth all of it. And it just gives us an extra sense of passion for everything we're doing.
Yeah. Wow. Beautifully said. Beautifully said.
Thank you.
Well, now let's talk a little bit about our coffees. So the theme for today's coffees is that they were all roasted in Georgia. To my surprise, they were actually all roasted in Atlanta, Georgia. The stipulation was just Georgia, but we really narrowed it down to the city of Atlanta. 3 coffees roasted in Atlanta. And we wanted to do Georgia roasters because, you know, to a lot of people, shopping local is important, right? Shopping from the same state, from the same community. And so I just want to give you a moment. Is shopping local important to you? And if it's not, you may want to think twice about this answer. But, is shopping local important to you? I guess a better question is, why do you think that's important?
Absolutely. It's helping fuel your local economy, one, but it's also supporting your neighbors, right? A lot of what we do between Three Tree and Origin is to promote our local communities. And which is why I think this is a perfect topic for us together here today, is that when you're buying local, and I promise they're not paying me to say this, no one's paying me to say this. When you're buying local, you're helping your neighbors, you're helping your community thrive, grow, diversify. And when we do that, we all succeed. Because when we have a more vibrant community with local businesses and makers, we have a better life there, like where there's more we can enjoy. That's one of the things that we love about Savannah, is that there's so many local artisans and makers and restaurants, and it's such a vibrant culture of creativity and community that we've really had tough time finding that anywhere else or many other places. And so supporting folks like these is so important to do that.
Yeah, I totally agree. Any thoughts on that, Michaela?
You took my answer. But I'm kidding. No, I mean, I just bring it back to the aspect of just like quality. I mean, you go to your local farmers market, and obviously they're putting way more attention to detail into what they're selling, and like the same with both of our businesses. I mean, like, you're sourcing ethically, and you're making sure it's good, and you're putting the attention into quality control and further education, and trying to do really good quality stuff. So it's like, not only is it helping out the local economy and all of that, which I think is very important, and it's supporting the local people, but it's just, I mean, when you buy from them, they're putting all their heart and soul into their product, and it's generally better. It's generally good. So
usually the quality's higher as well. I would agree. And it's neat. I love something that y'all said. You know, I think it can really take it from transactional to relational, right? You know, when I grew up in Atlanta, and you can definitely have pockets of community in Atlanta, but I did see a lot of the same people, but it's a massive area. Something I really like about a smaller town personally is you see a lot of the same people. You're really connecting. And so it's not just I'm making this drink as a transaction for so-and-so. It's no, I'm making this latte for Edward, darn it. And
yes.
I know what Edward's working on. I like Edward. Edward likes me, and we're connecting. You know, I think it can really help move from transactional to relational. And once again, not just in small cities, that can happen in a lot of different places. And so I think it's neat that Origin is doing this in Savannah. We're doing this in Statesboro. And I know we have some really reputable roasters that are doing this in Atlanta. So let's turn our attention to the coffee. Let's introduce our coffees today. So one of our coffees comes from Valor Coffee out of Atlanta. This is their Swoon Spring Blend. It's a mix of a Burundi coffee and a Rwandan coffee, both Bourbon varietals, one washed, one natural processed. If you don't know what that means, you should go check out our episode all about what is natural processed and what are processing methods. The next coffee we have is, it looks like it's a collaboration. I'm actually a little confused. So this is a call out to Portrait Coffee and Chrome Yellow, because I'm familiar with both of you. I think you did a collaboration blend together. That's what it says at the top. But this is a Peruvian coffee, honey processed. I would love to know more. Message on the video, text us something. I would love to know a little bit more, but it's a Peruvian coffee, honey processed from both Portrait and Chrome Yellow out of Atlanta. And then lastly, East Pole Coffee, great people. Jared was starting this around the same time that we were starting Three Tree. We've never met in person, but we emailed a couple times, and y'all are doing a phenomenal job. This is their Omen Pineda Paranema coffee. It's a washed process out of Honduras. So these are the three coffees, all roasted in Atlanta. How about we get drinking?
Let's do it.
All right, so we're going to slide these on over. In normal fashion, we're going to have a coffee 1, coffee 2, coffee 3. We're going to spend 1 minute on each coffee, 3 minutes total, and at the end of it, we'll share our thoughts throughout. But at the end of it, we'll pick a winner. Right. So let's go ahead and grab our spoons. There you go. Awesome.
Yep,
and we're going to start over here with coffee number 1. You ready with the timer? I'll start us off. Y'all can grab a little sip. Okay. Immediately, for me, it's light.
It dropped early as well, so it's definitely a light roast.
Okay, so Michaela's saying that the crust on the cupping, in the cupping bowl dropped kind of early. That can sometimes be indicative of lighter roasts.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
There's a beautiful flavor to it.
It's kind of delicate.
Yeah.
It is.
I think there's some fruits, there's some florals.
I can say some stone fruit in there.
Yeah, it's not crazy juicy or acidic, so I would agree with that in terms of stone fruit.
Right.
Yeah.
And overall, just really delicate, super drinkable. I feel like this is a chugger.
Oh yeah, it's refreshing
You could just
too.
kind of keep chugging it.
Like an ice pour over with this.
Yeah.
Delicious.
That would be so
It's
good.
getting sweeter as it sits. Yeah.
Yep. All right. That is it for coffee number 1. So we are going to move on to coffee number 2.
Gotta reach over
I
there.
love it.
Sorry, we could have had the water a little closer to Matt, but he's tall. I don't know if you can see. If you're watching it on YouTube, you know.
Got some tang to it.
Tang is definitely the right word.
It's good. It's like a very light coffee though. It's got some acidity, but it kind of reminds me of our Kenya, but not as citrusy. Like the mouthfeel, you know?
Yeah. This one's interesting. It is not bad. There's nothing bad about it. I'm struggling. I feel like it wants to be denser than it is. That's the best thing I can say.
Yes.
There's not much.
I was trying to put my finger on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's light, and I feel like it wants to be dense.
Yeah.
I see some citrus, but it's not acidic. Oh my goodness, that's it with coffee number 2.
It was complex. You didn't know.
It was complex. It was very good.
Great.
And it's sweet as well. All right, coffee number 3. After you,
Okay,
Matt. Go ahead.
thank you.
Yep. And now it's Michaela's turn to reach.
I'm gonna do 2 spoonfuls because I don't want to reach again.
It's very different than the previous 2. Oh, wow.
Hidden juicy.
Oh yeah, that's interesting. It's also a little florally on the end.
Sweet, juicy, nice. Sometimes juicy coffees. I I feel like I'm tasting some like fermentation, not in a bad way. So
Yeah.
I would guess this is either the black honey or the Valor. Sometimes the fermentation coffees can be like just too fermenty. This is really balanced. Like it's got some fruit explosion, but it's not like super dense fermentation. So that's yes. Wow, all three are really pretty darn good. Go Atlanta.
Okay, we're over.
That's it. Spoons down. That's all. All right. Wow. 3 coffees, all in Atlanta.
Oh, man.
Just kind of overall thoughts before we pick winners. Any other thoughts on these?
I think complexity-wise, I would say it goes that one, this one, this one.
Okay.
Right.
But that doesn't rule out like what my favorite is. Just like complexity. I think that one had the most flavor. It was very good.
Okay. Well, let's go and get our votes in. I'm struggling here, but we got to pick a winner. So I'm going to count down from 3. When I say point, you point to your favorite, and we'll see who the winner is. You ready? 3, 2, 1, point. You got number 2?
I did.
Okay. So number 3 got the most votes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Number 2 got a vote. And this one was tough. I mean, they were all, super drinkable.
He's going to go.
I need to go back. I think I'm still picking apart the third one is the thing for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Third one just for me I think it had the most complexity. There was a lot going on.
Get more chocolate.
Man, but one's really good too.
I mean, they're all delicious.
They really are.
They're 3 great roasters.
Yeah.
Well, as you're sipping that one, let's find out who they are. So we'll start with coffee number 3, which got the most votes. And that would be the Brick by Brick coffee, the Peruvian by the Portrait Chrome Yellow collaboration, I think. I don't know. Once again, Portrait and Chrome Yellow, let us know what this is. But it won today. Wow, fantastic.
It was really good.
Really nice. Yeah, a lot of juiciness. All right, let's see what coffee number 2 is.
Yeah.
East Pole. All right, way to go. So East Pole, the Honduras wash process. Okay, and then that leaves the last one, Valor. No hate to Valor. Once again, all 3 were good. We've done this before where it's like, ooh, some of them are not good. All 3 were really fantastic.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, that was super fun. Matt, I really appreciate you joining today. Thank you for sharing more about your story and just some of the wisdom you've learned during that time. We're rooting for you, and thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me, guys.
Yep.
Thanks so much.
And to all of our, Michaela, thank you as well for joining us and for helping us with this cupping today.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
I always love helping.
Awesome. And to our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in and listening to these episodes. We really couldn't do it without you. To the Georgia Roasters, way to go. Those were awesome. Thank you as well. Keep listening to these episodes. We'll have episodes coming out almost every Friday, 3 every month. And thank you so much for listening. Thank you for helping us cultivate freedom.